Hello, game day.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 7 of the Hello Game Day podcast. We are going to be joined today by the big source, Reilly O'Brien, and we cannot wait for you guys to hear the interview. First of all, though, I am the Moose.
I am the Poncho.
And we are joined by EJ up in this bitch. And Will is here as well. Big Willie. Now, Will is trying to get out early today because he has Dungeons and Dragons, but we've had to tie him down and lock him in. Poncho, how are you?
Going well, mate. Few bevos over the weekend, so not feeling as fresh as usual, but mate, I'm ready to get stuck into this episode.
Beautiful, mate. Well, let us see what clips you've got for us this week.
So, yes, this week. So, to start off, we've got a bit of inspiration. Now, we've got a man who's an 89-year-old European. He's a cyclist, and he's brought back his youth. He's given it a go, and he must be doing like a trial race or something, as they do in the Tour de France. So this is just a bit of inspiration for you guys to see how the old boy goes.
4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
So for people listening, he's comes straight off the podium. And
that's a bit of a my plans 2020 sort of thing.
Yeah, we'll pop it up this week. Another one is a part 2 of the stitch up that we had from the guy who was on the TikTok video.
The greatest video I've seen in 2020.
Yeah,
my favourite. I absolutely piss myself every time I watch it. And there's a part 2.
So here we go. This is him. They've rubbed a chili on his old man's coffee mug, and this is the result. He's about to realise. So he's realising.
You fucking put chili in the fucking cup, you smart ass. What the fuck? Are you for real? You and your fucking ticky-tocky fucking shit. What the fuck? Fuck me. Fuck. Where's the fuck?
I love that man.
Oh man, that's great.
I want to see so many more from him.
Yeah.
He is an absolute pisser.
If we find any more clips, we'll chuck
We
them
got
up.
those off Brown Cardigans, so praying that they keep on getting him because he is a pisser.
Yeah.
Anyways, Ponchi,
All right.
I reckon this is, what do they call it in tennis when the return serve's an ace?
Return serve, or
They when the return serve, they just hit it down the line and it's an ace.
I'm not. I don't play tennis. The lingo's not quite there.
Either way,
Wait, return serve.
whatever. But any tennis lovers, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Ponchi. Now, we all know that I was a rascal back in my day.
Yeah.
But you had your moments as well. And I'm hearing mail that in year 11, you used to fill up your mouth with water, run into the toilets, and spit it over the cubicle at whoever was taking a shit. And one day,
Yeah.
it didn't go so well for you.
So I'll take it up from here. This is just desserts. Like if bad karma was a thing, I deserved everything that happened to me. So I never really did it. It was something that the boys did at school. So you'd spit water over, and it's a very cowardly thing because you spit it on someone, they're sitting there, obviously trousers down on the toilet, they can't chase after you. So it's a very cowardly act.
Gutless.
One time,
Gutless.
so after school had finished and we're waiting for training to start in about an hour, a couple of the boys and myself thought we'd give it a go. I never did it, but this was just a once-off thing. So I was like, stuff it. So we go into the toilets, all three of us, get the mouth full of water and just spit it over over the cubicle. I run out, grab my big bag, everyone just spreads, but we're just pissing ourselves laughing. Like,
There's probably just some sorry bugger still sitting on there shell-shocked.
So for anyone who knows St. Kevin's College, they are very proud in their rugby. And I just happened to spit water on the biggest recruit that they got. This massive Islander dude. He's 110 kegs, massive bloke. So I get out. So imagine this, right? I get out of the toilets. I make it down half a flight of stairs and I get pounced on. Like by this absolute raging man. He was probably the one bloke in school you didn't want to mess with.
So at this point, have you realised who has pounced on you?
No, so he got me from behind, and I originally thought it was Took just jumping on me. And once I realised I turned around, he pins me against the wall and lifts me up by my neck, and I am like fearing, like genuinely fearing for my life. And I'm fairly sure this might be a bit of a skewed memory, but he had our other mate who was there, Willis Strowski, he had him also up by his neck. So he's got both of us. He's absolutely wrangled both of us. And if it wasn't for Jay Hayden being there as well, sort of mediating and like calming him down, he finally let us go. And I have never felt like such a little bitch in my life when we were walking off and he was dressing us down on the corridor. He's like, yeah, you walk off, you little bitches, and just said it. And I was just ashamed. And the funny thing was, mate, every time when we had our year 12, or like we just had the whole school assembly, his image would come up as like the rugby player for like the rugby segment. And whoever was sitting next to me would be like, ooh, harass me. They're like, he's coming for you. And I'm just like, ugh. I was pulling my pants when I was looking at a photo of him, let alone being in front of him. So
you're not a fighting man, Ponch, at all. So you must have genuinely, I can imagine you would have genuinely nearly pooed your pants. Like you might have had to change your undies.
I had to get a new uniform made up after that. It was, mate, I was that scared. And like confrontational, like fight-wise, I don't like it at all.
Was there any point through the rest of the year where you saw him in the hallways or anything like that?
If I did, I'd be like hiding, or I would not go near him. So that was his last year, and I was walking around in fear, especially when I was around Cusack area, because that's what house he was in. And I wasn't going to that part of the school. Genuinely fearing for my life.
Well, those are the sorts of moments that define you as a human being, I think. When you do a cowardly act like that as a teenager, and then it just comes back to bite you in the most terrible way.
I absolutely deserved it, and I'm so glad that it happened because it's actually a pisser, and I'm just glad I walked out of it alive.
Oh, all right, on to our predictions now. It's been a big week of footy, and to be honest, mate, I'm flat. I'm flat because for the second week in a row, my absolute certainty, I'm 0-2 with my absolute certainties.
Yeah,
and I just
want to say, I absolutely love watching these games, knowing that you've lost. And so for this week, when we get this punishment for you done, we'll be teeing off on you, mate. So that's just a little taste tester for what's coming in the future. But this is going to be a painful one again.
Okay, Sydney Bulldogs, Ponch.
I've gone Swans. I think it'll be a close one. I think Dogs probably are the favourites, so I'm picking a bit of a rogue this week for that one.
Going for the Doggies?
No, I'm going for the Swans.
I'm going for the Swans as well. Yep. I think that backing my boys in again. I've been saying they'll be all right this year, and I think that they did me proud when I tipped them against North last week. So Swannies for me. GWS Collingwood.
I think I'm going Magpies. Giants have to respond. They have been pretty terrible, but Collingwood are in such good form. Like you'd think that this would have to at least be a 5-goal margin.
Yeah, well, I mean, Collingwood are kind of struggling to kick 5 goals at the moment. They scored really well in the first half on the weekend against Saints, but then after that, they fell off the wagon again in terms of scoring, and they couldn't really score much against Richmond either. So yeah. I'm not too sure. Too sure. I think that Collingwood are definitely susceptible to a loss right now because of their lack of scoring. Yeah,
and GWS, they have to be hungry for a win.
Yeah,
especially after they came after Bontempelli. They've got this hard brand about them. So they have to respond as a team that was in the grand final last year.
And they might have a psychological advantage against Collingwood considering that they beat them in the prelim last year.
Absolutely.
St Kilda Port Adelaide versus West Coast.
This is my certainty of the week as well. I've gone for Port. We obviously, once again, we only pick games from Thursday to Saturday so we can review it on a Sunday. But for those games, I think Port have been scintillating form. Now, I don't think they haven't played yet this week. But yeah, Eagles have been lackluster. Port have been in great form. They came up and smashed the Gold Coast at Metricon, so they've played well at that ground. So I feel pretty comfortable. I thought that would have been your certainty. So
I mean, the Gold Coast games are a real feather in their cap now, considering the Gold Coast's form. And again, smashing Adelaide this week. It's amazing. St Kilda versus Richmond.
And so obviously you've picked Port as well for that.
Sorry, yes, I picked Port. Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks for keeping me accountable, mate.
Yeah, no. It's all right. Sorry, I was just chin-wagging
And I picked Collingwood as well. I didn't even know if I said that.
Yeah. So we've got Saints and Richmond. I've gone Richmond. But I'll say this. If Richmond if they would have won last week, I think that they would have lost to St Kilda. But after a pantsing, they need to respond, and they will.
I'm going Richmond as my dead set certainty this week. And if I go 0-3, Ponchy, I might have to throw in the towel.
Mate, Hawks have just come off. Who did they verse? They've just come off a massive
smashed Richmond.
Sorry. Oh, they're
Richmond have just been smashed by Hawks. So the thing is, that's what I think that Hawks will. I mean, Richmond will respond.
Yeah.
They'll have to respond.
Yeah, absolutely. Saints have been solid, but I guess, absolutely.
Yeah, and Saints just got belted by Collingwood. They got exposed a fair bit. So, and Richmond are just too proud an outfit, and they're the dual premiers. I mean, they've got a response. Essendon versus Carlton, if this happens at all.
Yeah, so this was a flip of the coin for me, and I think I've gone Carlton just as a bit of an underdog, purely because I backed them against. I thought that they could do the job against Geelong. That's why I didn't certainty them this week just gone. So they have the ability, but this can go either way. That game.
Yeah, I've gone the Blues as well. As you said, flip. It really is a flip of the coin.
Yeah.
I think that Essendon are just so unreliable. Like sometimes they turn up, sometimes they don't. I think it'll probably be a close game.
Yeah.
Carlton. Gold Coast versus Fremantle.
Yeah. I'm going the Suns, and I'm loving their form. They've had a big win over Adelaide again today. And it's just exciting for the club. I love the club a lot. Obviously got a couple of mates up there. It's exciting to see how they're going. And they would have been my backup certainty if you had to pick Port. So
Yeah.
I'm really backing them in. I'm thinking probably 3 to 4 goal margin.
Right. And what a time to be a Gold Coast player, and what a time to be a Gold Coast supporter. I mean, especially the ones who have been in the trenches and, had all these hard times. I'm not saying that they're over the hill, but I mean...
Nah.
The future really does look bright. King up forward, Rail in the midfield. It is. They've got some serious.
If he
talent.
got the 3 votes today, he could potentially be 6 votes in after 3 rounds. He could be up there in the brown though already as
That's
a first.
insane.
Yeah, it's insanity.
Yeah, I'm going the Goldie as well, and this is my golden rogie for the week.
Nice.
I'm going Gold Coast to win 25 points or more. Took Miller and Matt Rowell to have 40 disposals and 3 goals between them.
Huge. Like it.
So I think the boys are going to link up again.
Yeah, Tuki's been in absolute scintillating form. 3 goals. That's the juicy part about that. I like that. So you've really given I think mine might be a bit lackluster. Mine's a bit boring this week.
Yeah, well, pick up your game, Punchy. Brisbane versus Adelaide. Who you got?
Brisbane, and they should do it comfortably, I think.
Yeah.
Adelaide hasn't been in great form, unfortunately, for them, and it'll be up at the Gabba. Lions should probably do it by 5 goals.
Yeah, Lions for me. Melbourne versus Geelong.
I've gone the Cats. They need to respond. They probably should have beat Carlton in the end. They came back pretty well, but I'm not overly convinced with Melbourne at the moment. And then we've got the last game, so Hawthorn and North Melbourne, and I'm going for North. Flip of the coin again, but something about North. They can turn up, and all their games have been very close. That's what I've found.
First of all, I'm going for Geelong
Yep.
with the against Melbourne. I think they'll get back on the horse as well. Hawthorn, North Melbourne for me, that's a really interesting one because for me, those are the 2 teams that are they going to push up and become top 4 sides this year?
It's a question
because
mark.
North showed a shitload in round 2, and then this week Hawthorn, I just loved the way they played. They were exciting. They were moving the ball fast. O'Meara, Scully in the midfield. They got Tom Mitchell back. Sicily looks like he's really coming into his own. John O'Patton looks like he's a great pickup. Chad Wingard looks like he's about to hit his straps.
Yeah.
They look exciting.
Yeah.
Warple is another one who's about to...
He was their last year's best and fairest.
He's got a bit of Chris Judd about him.
Yeah, he's good.
Just the way he moves and everything. I think that he's one to really watch.
And that was my golden rogie for North Melbourne, and they'll win it by under a goal. So that's what mine has to be, a very, very tight margin. But
so North Melbourne to win by under a goal.
So
that's a big one.
5 points to 1 point is
wow.
my golden rogie.
Jeez, if you get that one right, that'll be something special.
Yeah, I'll be very happy.
All right, that's the predictions for this week. Now, Ponchy, what caught my eye this week?
Look out. And what is it? Is it going to be a good sting, bad sting? Hit us up.
Fuck, you can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
Moosey's not happy.
Look, I'm not happy this week, and the reason why I'm not happy is because I'm seeing a little bit of inconsistency in the way that players are getting adjudicated by the tribunal. And Jeremy McGovern has gotten a week for a little love tap that he's given Alex Sexton. And it's a love tap. He obviously goes to grab him to jumper punch him. And maybe there is a little bit of intent to give him a little bit of
love.
But that does happen, and that's just a part of the biff of the game. And I don't think anyone would really argue that. It's not like he's gone and King hit him or anything. He's just given him a bit of a jumper punch, and that happens. I don't see the problem with that.
You literally get that in a marking contest if someone gives you the old ear massage trying to spoil. Like, it's nothing that's worse than anything like that.
Yeah, and then I saw the Sean Burgoyne tackle, and I was actually, when I was watching that, I was actually quite taken aback by that. First of all, I was taken aback by the fact that it was Sean Burgoyne who did it, because he's normally such a cool customer. And second of all, just by the nature of the tackle, I felt like, the way that the game was going, Sean Burgoyne really let his emotions get the best of him, and you could tell the way he slung him and the way his body language on the field before and after that as well. He was really frustrated, and that's what he'd let his emotions get the best of him a little bit. So I felt like it was kind of obvious, but then the commentators at the same time were saying, "Oh, he's a champion of the game and he's a great bloke and this and that," and I'm like, oh, well, right now that doesn't really matter, because I know that Sean Burgoyne is a champion and he is one of the good guys of the sport, but he's clearly just done a very unruly tackle, and Dangerfield was very lucky to not be knocked out cold.
Yeah, so I think that's the thing that really grinds my gears. Is when I saw it, I was immediately like, that's a weak. That's something that I want to stand back. Concussion is such a massive thing in football. So when he got slammed down, luckily again, Dangerfield didn't hit his head too hard. But you look at that and the danger and how bad that could have been. McGovern's, how could his have been any worse, or the impact that was on him? If you compare the two, I just think it's an inconsistent thing to have those lined up with each other.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
so the punch got a week, the love tap got a week, and Burgoyne got off with nothing for the sling tackle that was, mate, like he was a millimeter off.
And there was
completely
just
concussed.
no need. There's never any need for the sling tackle like that. You take the player down, but you don't need to sling them arms pinned, head into the ground.
Yeah.
That's when we start getting into the territory of bad concussions, and then long-lasting concussions as well. That's a genuine problem in our sport, in many different sports as well. Another thing as well is just that, like for example, last year I remember one game last season, Zach Jones did like a bit of like an unruly bump on somebody, and it wasn't too bad, but the commentators really got stuck into him because he's a bit more of a bad boy sort of like attitude, and they really got stuck into him, saying it was low, and you're not a tough guy, and I've seen players get berated for that in the past. So I'm just thinking from a commentary standpoint, we need a bit of consistency there as well, because you need to call a spade, and if there's a really dangerous tackle, it doesn't matter if it's Mother Teresa who's done it.
The action is the action. Yeah.
So that was what caught my eye this week,
Mate,
big fella.
Absolutely love it.
Yep. So best on this week. What have you got for me? You know how much I look forward to this.
Yes. Now we've got to send in one of the guys who's been watching the show, and he messaged me every week, so I'm giving him a pump up. Jakey Haseman. He sent me in a clip. So this is of a Rubina Roos coach. So Rubina Roos are a Gold Coast team, and this is the twos coach. Absolutely going off his head. So have a good listen to this. And yeah, I'm very excited.
In this room, there's 22 players, and I reckon 10 years are the dumbest cunts I've ever coached in 16 years. And I don't give a fuck if you don't like me for saying that, but you're fucking dumb. What he just said then was spot on. 3 goals we gave up that quarter from coming back in the corridor, from the 3 worst cunts I've ever coached, kicking-wise in senior football. So you must be shit. You mustn't like winning. They've walked it out of the middle. We've got no sweat. Oh yeah, fucking my bad. You must like being shit. You want to be mediocre. You don't want to be winners. Because your actions don't show it. Fucking shit. They walked it out of our fucking forward line 4 fucking times. Overlap. But when the ball did our forward line, we got 3 loose guns through here. We didn't give these 2 blokes a chop out. Because we're too busy worrying about our fucking selves. So if you get it, switch the cutting board with a shit kick. I've kept it fucking so simple this year. It's fucking hurt me. Where we're at now, tactics-wise, we should have been out in January. Because you cunts don't get it. And even when you do get it, you go back to what doesn't work. What has ever worked for you. And you keep doing it and doing it. Every fucking week, you keep doing what doesn't work for you. That's why you're fucking dumb. You're fucking shit. You want to put up with that, you shit.
You're fucking dumb.
So that's that was the one that got sent in, and I have been in stitches. I was very excited to give this one in. So
I tell you what, that bloke, I reckon he is having a bit of trouble. The wife's giving him some issues. His kids are playing up, getting detentions at school. Work's not going great, and he's just boiled over the top, and he's just taking it out on his team who were just full of dumb cunts.
I've heard a rumor that there was literally steam coming out of the change rooms with that one. He was going off the big boy. So
That is an absolute perler.
wasn't happy. And I mean, by the sounds of things, the boys aren't listening to his instructions.
So if anybody's got any clips for Best On, send it to Poncho because we will make you Best On for the week. Now, we have got the big source, Reilly O'Brien, on the podcast now. What do you know about Big Razza?
We went to school together. He's a Skebby's boy. He's a very, very funny man. He'll tell you how smart he is. And I'm assuming when we do this interview, he'll let us know how smart he is as well. But yeah, just a really good bloke. I don't know what else more is to say, but
He's an Ascot Vegas boy. He played at Moonee Valley in his juniors. I played at Maribyrnong Park, so I had to towel him up a few times, clearly. No, I was about 5'2" until I was about 17, so luckily I had a bit of a growth spurt. But yeah, so he's a Marby boy, and he's also a very interesting man because he's a genuine genius, and we'll get into that on the podcast. You look at him, you would not think genius.
You would look at him and think Spud.
Yeah, but he's a genius. So can't wait for you guys all to hear this. Without further ado, here we go.
All right, gang. So we've got EJ and
Big Willie right here.
on the mics. So we're
strange
pumping up the
experience.
podcast a little bit just for
doing our
the
best.
for the mid time. So what we want you to do, get around our socials. Hello Game Day. Send us some emails.
Get hyped. Follow us up on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Get around our LinkedIn and like and subscribe on our YouTube channel. And that'll be us. That'll be all for us.
All right. See you around, fellas.
All right, guys, we've got Reilly O'Brien here, Adelaide boy, Adelaide Crows boy, that is. Sorry. He's come from St. Kevin's College. He got drafted to the Calder Cannons, pick number 9 in the rookie draft. Razzle dazzle, give us a massive hello game day.
Hello, game day.
That is absolutely fantastic. Raz, we're going to get straight into a few stitch-ups, mate. We have got some absolute curlers for you, so prepare your anus for these ones. So, to start things off, mate, apparently you had a special bed when you were younger. Is there any truth to that?
Special bed. Elaborate on that.
Sam, your older brother, has said that you might have had a few bedwetting problems and you've had to have a special bed.
When I was really young, but like that was when I was 5 or 6. I had a bit of a bedwetting issue, but I was a bit of a I was an average. When I was a kid, I was a bit there's a few things wrong with me, but I've become good now.
You're doing really good now. Do you want to maybe elaborate on what some of those things might have been?
Well, as when I was a child,
Yeah.
I was a bit of a psycho head. I was saw a few psychologists when I was younger. I was a bit crazy. I used to kick a few of my friends in the nuts when they weren't looking and that sort of thing. Wet the bed, obviously. But yeah, no, I was a bit of a up until primary school. I was a bit of a psycho. I didn't get invited to my friends' birthdays because their parents wouldn't let me come. That sort of thing. But when I got to high school, I was straightened out, mate. You straightened me out in year 7.
Yep, we used to get the train to school together, and I think that I had a really sort of positive impact on you. We were in the same year 7 class, took you under my wing, and you've turned out to be a strapping young man. And just a slight elaboration on that. You're obviously an Adelaide Crows player now, but as a kid, you were a fanatical Port Adelaide supporter. And I'm hearing on the rumour mill that you were at a pub one time and you may or may not have given the Richmond supporters a brown eye.
I did. That is true. I think it was Port Adelaide versus Richmond. I reckon would have been about 6 years old. Pub was full of about 60 people. I don't know why there were so many people there, but I remember there being a lot of people. And Port won in a nail biter. And I've jumped up on the table and I've put my finger up at everyone and said, "Fuck you." And then pulled my chest. And I waved it around to everyone. And my mum grabbed me by the wrist and stormed out crying. But it was worth it. I was a big Port fan for whatever reason, but and I converted my whole primary school to go for Port. So I was a bit of the primary school bully actually. I made everyone go for Port, but I sort of started going for Geelong actually, and after the 2007 grand final. So I was a bit of a turncoat, but yeah.
I'm surprised that you're a bit of a schoolyard bully because this story must have taken that down a few pegs. So apparently, mate, there was an issue. There was an issue at MSAC. You've had a code brown. you've snapped a twig off in the pool. Can you
God.
confirm?
That was, I can confirm that. Yeah, there was an evacuation of the premises after defecating in the pool. But in my defence, I was about 4, so I vaguely remember it, but I wasn't in full control of my bowels at that stage, so got a little bit of an excuse.
Yeah, that's fair enough, mate. I'll let you go with that one. Another one that I love, or something I love about you, and especially at school, we'll touch on that you're actually a pretty smart bloke, especially when it comes book-wise, but you love walking around the room and letting everyone know, I'm smarter than you, I'm smarter than you, I'm definitely smarter than you. Do you let the Adelaide boys know how smart you are and do the same thing?
All the time. I'm still playing onto my ATAR from about 6 years ago. I let a lot of them, a lot of blokes at a footy club, they have not necessarily the smartest blokes, but they like to think they're really street smart, and they just call me book smart. So I just try and remind them that I'm, got them covered in the IQ sometimes. So
Yeah, no.
walk around with them, no, gotta do it.
Well, I'm a bit surprised because you are a smart man, but what I've heard is that you had your girlfriend's car and you filled her diesel car up with unleaded and it ruined the car. So can you confirm that?
Yeah, I can confirm that. Yeah, yeah, it's not great, is it? I had the whole, and I've chucked in $20 of being stingy. I chucked in about $15 of unleaded, and luckily, and it wasn't working for a few days. Like we thought the engine wasn't working because the car just kept just shutting down, and I thought we just kept jump starting it and thinking it was broken, but then turned out the unleaded was in there, and but we got it sort of fixed. So it worked out all right, and we just sold it before any issues popped up.
Yeah, not your finest moment there, big fella.
Had a few.
I've just got another one. Jordan DeGoey has told me that every time you guys have been out together, he will just stand there and laugh at you the whole night. And how would you respond to that? How would you respond to Jordan?
Yeah, a lot of people. I've had effect on a lot of people actually. A lot of people just sit in the corner and sort of look at me. It's the same when we go like a review or anything, and in footy clips, and I'm doing anything in footy, everyone just starts giggling to themselves for whatever reason. Yeah, it's a bit of a whack, but I think I just, the way I walk and the way I, the few things I do, they're a bit unorthodox, but
The funniest ones are we're going to try to get some clips. We didn't actually get it, but your set shot walk in for goal is hilarious. I remember the first review in year 11 for St. Kevin's after we versed Geelong College, and you were just walking in like this gangly giraffe, and everyone in the whole room was pissing themselves laughing.
It was a robot. I remember that getting filmed actually. It was like a really robotic kicking action. Everyone giggled. Yeah, I remember that. There's plenty of those too. It happens it weekly, but that's all right. It's all right. Someone's going to be laughed at as long as I'm involved.
And the last one on the stitch-ups, mate, it's from the other member of what's been coined as the Mouse Pack, the DeGoey, Braden Maynard, and Benny Crocker.
Yeah, I was talking about actually the Mouse Pack.
Yeah, so Croc's told me that you actually have a tendency to wear the same undies all the time. What's the truth to that?
I have got a reputation as a bit of a grub around the. Well, yeah, because I don't like to shower between training and gym, and guys get into me about that. I get a bit smelly, but jocks, yeah, sometimes I sort of just roll into the club in low key gear, sort of just trackies. I'm a bit grubby, and then I also get a bit of feedback on my BO, but I think that's a bit of a myth. But yeah, the jocks, yeah, I have been caught a couple of times doing that, but generally I'm pretty good.
Well, we'll get off the stitch-ups for now. So you're off the hook after all that. Yeah, we did, and that's what we do best here. So with your year after school, and as we said, you got a 99.65 for ATAR?
6.5, yeah. It's been 9.5, but oh
well. Yeah, mate, it's still a lot better than my one. So what was your year like after school? Because obviously you had that 1 year. Did you kind of get into the books and study, or were you really going hard for footy? Because was that a certainty to come up, or kind of that year, what kind of happened there?
Yeah, I went to Melbourne Uni to study biomedicine there, and then applied another year at the Calder Cannons as a 19th year, and I wasn't really expecting to get picked up really, but it was it was a bit of a pipe dream. I didn't think it was that realistic, but there was a good chance to get stuck into my footy and get stuck into uni as well. So it was good to have that year, I think, to sort of as a bridge between sort of school and uni, and yeah, it was good. I think I enjoyed it.
Nice, mate. And what do you reckon you'd be doing if you didn't get picked up?
Yeah, well, I've always wanted to go into medicine, so I wanted to just study and become a doctor, I guess. So that was the plan. So footy wasn't like I wasn't all relying on footy in terms of, didn't really think footy was that realistic. So that was sort of the main plan. Footy was just a maybe if it came up. So it's worked out well.
It worked out well indeed. But at one stage you had 963 days in between games. And,
Yep.
you know, you're away from home. You've got, you know, potentially greener pastures with academia. You could have been in medicine or an astronaut or whatever you really wanted to do. Is there any point that you thought, well, maybe I'll just, you know, do my academic pursuits and leave footy behind?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for a couple of years there, it was pretty frustrating. There wasn't really looking to the AFL team. I was training well, playing well, just in my position. Sam Jacobs was in my spot, and he was playing at a really good level. One of the best rucks in the comp, so I just couldn't get a look in, and he wasn't getting injured. So it was pretty frustrating. And then I had a couple of injuries as well, and yeah, definitely sort of reassess whether I wanted to keep doing it, I guess, because you're sort of living out of like away from home, and then sort of playing Sandful every week, and it sort of becomes a groundhog day over 4 years. It sort of becomes a bit of a grind. You sort of question what you're doing, definitely. So those thoughts definitely did arise, but from that, I probably just got a bit more of a desperation from that frustration, from that lack of opportunity to train harder and try and crack in, which I was lucky enough to sort of do at the start of last year.
You're probably pretty stoked as well. Looking into this year, you've got the top spot. The way I see it, you've pretty much done an apprenticeship for the ruck. So what are you kind of looking forward to? Because it's definitely brighter days ahead, knowing that you've got the top ruck gig at the club.
Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, it was a pretty long sort of apprenticeship in the end. Took a while. Felt like I was sort of ready to play at the level for a while. I was feeling my body was up to it and felt like I could have. So it was pretty frustrating. But now it's just, yeah, it's great to be able to have a bit more confidence in my spot and string a few games together and continue to improve. But yeah, I'm loving having that. And it's a lot more fun playing in the ones in the Scooby Doos.
Yeah, it's been a pretty amazing journey, mate. And you know, over the past few years, I'm sure you've had your ups and your downs, your highs and your lows at the club. But one of the extreme lows that, you know, is just something that's one of the most shattering things that's happened in AFL history, as far as I'm concerned, is the tragic death of Phil Walsh. And I was wondering, you know, where were you when you found out, and what was it like being an Adelaide Crows player at that time?
Yeah, it was pretty surreal. That was obviously my first year, and but the love for Walshy from the players was like nothing I've experienced with other coaches. There was just he's cared so much about the players, and the players were just so emotionally invested, sort of in him and in what he brought to the club. And to get that news, I think I was woken up. It was an early morning, so I was woken up living with my host family at the time. So I was woken up by the mum of my host family and in a bit of shock. And then I just drive in the club at 7 a.m. and I was one of the last ones there. And the scene was just shock. Didn't really sink in for me, being 19 and first year at the club, didn't really sink in that much. It was sort of surreal and didn't really know what was going on. But yeah, it was obviously a crazy time. But yeah, the boys were obviously a lot of the other guys were probably more affected in terms of they formed that close relationship as senior guys. As a young guy, he's sort of scared of the coach. But still obviously had huge respect for him and love for him. And yeah, it was an amazingly weird time and sad time. But yeah.
And if you could say that there's one sort of lasting impression or one lasting legacy that he's left on the players and the club, what would you say that would be?
God, there's a lot. There's the two main things I think that stand out for him were probably his care for others. Like he was like unbelievable. Like would stand up for his players always. I remember he did a few things for me. And then when one of our players was in hospital, Brent Reilly went to hospital. He fractured his skull at training and was close to he was touch and go for a few days whether he'd actually survive all the surgeries for about 3 weeks there while she was at the hospital at 6 a.m. before the doors opened for the public, like every morning at 6 a.m. to visit him, like 3 weeks in a row, like every single day at 6 a.m. He wouldn't be there. Like he's like, he was unbelievable in his care for others. And that's why I think that's why everyone, he was hard as, but everyone just loved him because he knew that like he would put the players first and he loved the players. And the other thing was, he was obviously crazy with the hard work. Our sessions were unbelievable. And he always talked about being pirates out in the field, being ruthless. He encouraged, he loved fighting at training. And he loved just training.
There was one recently, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was.
Yeah, there was. Yeah. That sort of was a throwback. But that is not every week under Walshy, and he loved it. He'd sit around and just rub his hands together.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's probably 2 things: just that ruthless hard work, and then also that genuine care and love for others.
Well, it's an amazing review on a guy that just had such an amazing effect on his club and the players. And thank you very much for letting us in on that. Moving on now, who are the best young players at the club now, would you say, the ones to really watch that could be stars of the future?
Best young players, I'd probably say guys coming through like Chase Jones, Ned McHenry. They're both, Ned especially, he's a nippy young type, he's a bit crazy. He's got a bit of white line fever. He'll probably get in a few fights as he goes on, but he's good. He's just amazing energy, a few tricks as well. And I think Fisher McCasey, he'll be a 200 game, just gun. And then Darcy Fogarty's probably another one. He's just got a lot of X factor. He's a thick boy, Darcy Fogarty. Very thick country boy. He was bigger than everyone when he got to the club. His legs are enormous, but they're the ones that jump out immediately. Yeah, built like an absolute brick shit house, Darcy Fogarty.
he's a big boy.
But another question we wanted to ask. So every week we're going to be having a different question from our favorite AFL page, Everything AFL HQ. So they asked their supporters what they'd like to hear from you. So this week the question was from Matt Koch, and the question is, who is the most annoying player at the club?
Oh God, the list is pretty long. Most annoying player at the club. Most annoying would have to be probably Paul Seedsman, I reckon. He would have to be the most talkative human being. He's got a story for absolutely everything. He's got a little phrase or simile for absolutely everything too. Like sitting on the bus today, I was at the front on the way to the game, and all I could hear from the back of the bus was just him just yapping. Just going on and on and on. Same in the gym. We've had 2 separate gyms recently, at 50 metres apart because of the COVID stuff. And if he's in the other group on the other side of the big hall, I can just hear him just rambling on some story. But it is good value. He's very funny, but he'd have to be the most annoying, I reckon.
I have heard he is a great bloke. So thank you to Matt Koch and Everything AFL HQ for that question this week.
And now another one is, who do you reckon would be the most likely to be best on a Mad Monday at the club?
Monday. Good. A few contenders for that too. Wow. Let me think. The obvious ones are like Benny Crocker, who's just come over. Shane McAdams, another one of the young boys. He'd be pretty good, I reckon. He can go when he wants to. Let me think who else. Myself, obviously.
I was going to say, surely, mate.
Always in the votes.
Have you still got your Superman top that you wore after we finished school?
Yeah, of course. The pink Superman top.
Yeah.
I get to run always Saturday nights on Hindley Street in Adelaide. Yeah, they're probably the main ones.
And who would be most likely to smoke bomb and be an absolute wet lettuce?
I was going to say Jake Kelly, but he wouldn't be happy with that.
Well, it's been said now.
Too late.
Well, we'll have to tag him into it.
Yeah.
I live with him, so that'd be an issue. But he has a propensity to do that a little bit. But yeah, probably Jake.
Nice. And so you're obviously on the Gold Coast, and you've just got into the hub. So what's the go with everything? Like you've got have you got a roommate sort of set up? Where are you staying? You know, what's the kind of restrictions you guys have and everything?
I've got my beautiful hotel room here with a bit of stuff on the floor. just got the arena is like a golf resort, so it's at the Mercure. It's a pretty good setup.
Yeah, I used to actually work there. I used to work at the pool bar down next.
There you go.
Yeah, I worked there
Big
for a year,
goal.
so it's not a bad little establishment, especially for you
Wow.
boys. What you're doing,
Yeah, that would have been great to have you as a pool boy. That's right.
mate. I genuinely would. I was working at the pool bar, and half the time I'd just be pouring like free hand to these guys, and I got told like, if you keep doing that, like we don't have a lifeguard on site, so we can get into serious trouble. So I had to rein my my bartendering in a little bit when I was there, but I think it's probably a bit more strict now. Of someone a bit more responsible.
Yeah, but no, the setup is good. So we got here on yesterday, so setup's pretty good. We'll be here for another couple of weeks, but no, we got a lot of cars. We can drive down to the beach, drive to the shops to whatever. But it's all pretty chill and a nice setup. We got all the food and everything set up. We got a gym set up here, so the setup's actually not too bad, and the weather's obviously pretty good. There's a nice change from the cold of Adelaide, so it's actually not a bad chance to get away and do a bit of training, hang out with the boys and that sort of thing, and knock over a few games.
And yeah, what's the training setup? So do you get a spot at Metricon at a certain time, or how does that kind of work for you boys?
Yeah, I think we've got our normal schedule. I think we just train at Metricon. We've got a gym set up here, and then we've also got a gym through Bond Uni, I think. So we'll just go to Metricon to do our training, and go. I'm assuming there's other teams obviously using that, so we'll have to do it around them and get it all done as usual. But yeah, we'll see how that works out this week.
And who are the blokes that you tend to knock about with around the complex, mate?
Well, Jake Kelly's probably the main one. I live with him, and we've actually got adjoining rooms here, which is great. And then Ned McHenry as well. Got him under the wing as a young boy from Victoria. Who else? God, they're probably the main two. I'm a bit of apart from that, probably Paul Seedsman, Billy Frampton, Ben Keys. Sort of, I'll get around to everyone though. I'm sort of, bit of me to get around.
That's big of you, mate. Very nice. And, after a few bad losses recently, we don't want to harp on it too much, but we understand that you've had a bit of like a meeting tonight that's a bit of soul searching going on. Can you explain to us what's happened there?
Yeah, we just sort of had a review, as you do after every game, but we sort of just obviously had two sort of poor weeks in a row, and we sort of just sat down and sort of discussed what we can do, not just sort of on game day and what we need to change on game day, but also change during the week and how we can get better, and sort of analysing everything that we're doing in our program at the moment. And what we need to do as a group to get back to the level, because we need to get back to that level, which we know we're capable of. And at the moment, we're sort of embarrassing ourselves a little bit, and embarrassing sort of the football club. So we need to get back to that level as quickly as we can. And be a lot more meetings to come and a lot of hard training, I think, to come as well.
And what were the most sort of poignant messages from the coaches and from the leadership group? Was it quite like a punitive tone, or was it more encouraging?
It wasn't so much punitive. It was sort of an open forum, just talking about sort of what we need to improve, and how we're going to do that, basically. And the answers, I mean, it's pretty obvious just through our training and training habits and standards. So, it's sort of a bit of working out what's going wrong, because obviously we're not playing as well as we should be with the sort of team we're putting out there. So, it's definitely not sort of punitive. It's sort of more just, we're trying to help each other to get better and get back to the level we know we can.
Beautiful. Well, mate, that's all we've really got for you.
Yeah,
this lovely evening. So we really appreciate you coming on, mate, especially after the game, making some time for us. And good luck with the hub over the next few weeks.
Yeah, it's good to see your gorgeous lid, big boy. So all the best with everything. I'm sure you guys will that. Sure you guys will pick back up and do well in the second half of the season on the back end.
Thanks, fellas. Really appreciate it. And take it easy.
Too easy, big boy.
Cheers, Raz. Thanks, mate. So that was our interview with Adelaide Crows big man, an absolute golden bloke, Reilly O'Brien. What did you reckon, Ponchy?
The Dazzler. I love him. He's a great man. Yeah, just a bit of insight to him. Like just from what I know from through school and being with him, he's just a funny bloke. You look at his head and you laugh, and he knows that as well. He's just happy to have a laugh at his own expense, and I just hope you guys really enjoy that insight on another great person in AFL.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I'm personally so stoked for him that he's doing well. When I was in year 7 and we were catching the train every day together, I honestly never would have thought. Like, I knew he was a gun at footy from around the traps and stuff, but like he was always so academically focused and just brilliant that I wouldn't have expected it. But to see him killing it. And just expanding his horizons, all these options for him. It's amazing.
Like I said, I'm super excited that he's got his opportunity as the leading ruckman at the club because he's put in so much work. He's been there for 5 years. Like the Melbourne Premier said, why would you go to Adelaide? Like he's stuck out in Adelaide. But I'm stoked, and I reckon he's just going to have a prime year. And I think that's another bolter that you can put in your books because he's played 20 games, I think, over the last 5 years, and now he's 100%. Unless he's got an injury, he's always going to be in the ruck, and he's actually come into some really, really good form. So I'm so excited for him.
Yeah, it's massive for us. So once again, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Follow us, Instagram, Facebook, the likes. Make sure you hit subscribe. Join our mailing list. All the shameless stuff. I have been the Moose.
I have been the Ponch, and next time you tune in, bring a mate.
Thank you for tuning in to the Hello Game Day podcast.
If you're listening right now, that means you've made it to the end of the episode and maybe even enjoyed what you've heard.
If so, you can join us on all major social media platforms, as well as audio podcasting platforms and YouTube. Or just head on over to our website at www.hellogameday.co and hit subscribe to join our mailing list where you can receive weekly updates on the podcast. We'd like to give a massive thank you to our producer Ethan Curtin. Find him on Instagram at Room 10 Company, as well as Equal Tech, who have given us an office space to work in, and our beautiful graphic design is done by Chev at Graphic Design. He's been the Ponch.
He's been the Moose. And next time you drop in, bring a mate.